live across the country, tackling the topics everyone is talking about online. Share, engage, and interact. This is Newsfeed Now.
Good Friday morning, everybody. We finally made it to the end of the work week. So glad to have you with us here on Newsfeed Now. I'm Suzanne Bruner. There's a lot coming down on our news feeds this morning, and we are your one-stop shop for all things people are talking about online. First, we've been following developments on a mass shooting in Orange, California. So let's get straight to that story. 4 people are dead and another woman is fighting for her life after a man started shooting at an office park on Wednesday. The victims have been identified by a family member as Luis Tovar and his daughter Genevieve Regoza. Leticia Solis, pictured at the bottom right, and 9-year-old Matthew Farias were also identified as victims by the family. The boy's mother, pictured on the bottom left, identified by relatives as Blanca Tamayo. She's in critical condition. Chip Yost is following the story and has more from Orange.
Orange police say this newly released image shows the suspect in Wednesday's mass shooting inside the Lincoln Avenue office complex where 4 people, including a 9-year-old boy, were murdered. A police lieutenant says when officers arrived on scene less than 2 minutes after the first 911 call, gunshots were still ringing out, but police couldn't get in.
Officers immediately approached the building, however, were unable to enter the courtyard due to the fact the gates had been locked from the inside. It appears the suspect used a bicycle-type cable lock to secure the gates from the inside on both the north and the south sides of the courtyard. 2 officers engaged the suspect from outside of the gates, and an officer-involved shooting occurred.
Officers then forced their way into the complex and took the injured suspect into custody.
Additionally, officers located 2 victims in the courtyard area, one of which was a 9-year-old boy who was deceased. An adult female who had also been shot was found with the boy.
It appears that a little boy died in his mother's arms as she was trying to save him during this horrific massacre.
A search of the complex found 2 women and another man dead. The offices involved were part of Unified Homes, which is in the mobile homes business. The suspect, who was taken to the hospital in critical but stable condition, was identified as 44-year-old Aminadab Gonzalez, whose last known address is believed to be an Anaheim motel room.
The preliminary motive is believed to be related to a business and personal relationship, which existed between the suspect and all of the victims.
A new mom opted for a midwife instead of a doctor for her home birth. Now she's suing the midwife she chose during the course of her pregnancy. Vanessa Murphy explains why and breaks down the role of midwives.
1, 2, 3, I'm pregnant! I'm pregnant!
This is Alicia Sowers and her husband telling their family she was pregnant with a due date in May of 2020.
Are you? Really?
It's really a dream come true.
Sowers says she and her husband chose home birth due to concerns about going to a hospital during the COVID-19 pandemic, and they considered their home to be a special place. Turns out Sowers was having twins. While her second child survived after she was rushed to the hospital, the Sowers lost their firstborn.
And our son Sullivan, he was born gray and not breathing.
Now there's a disagreement over how her pregnancy unfolded, along with what started as a home birth. The Sowers are suing Well-Rounded Mama, the woman who runs at Cherry Hopkins, and 3 other members of her team. Sowers alleges negligence, breach of contract, and breach of fiduciary duty. Hopkins and Tori Hinkle, who is also named as a defendant, agreed to an interview with the I-Team to respond to the allegations. Hopkins says she was in charge.
To me, the truth is on my side.
What we found, 2 different versions of the same events.
Yeah, I had all sorts of confidence in her. It felt like a friendship, you know.
According to the lawsuit, on or about April 4th, Hopkins began suspecting Sowers was having twins, but failed to transfer care. It continues on May 2nd, an ultrasound, which confirmed she was carrying twins who were sharing the same sac and placenta referred to as mano-mano. According to Columbia University's obstetrics and gynecology website, for twins sharing the same sac and placenta, there's a chance their umbilical cords could be entangled and lead to the loss of one or both of their lives. That's why this type of pregnancy is closely monitored. The lawsuit alleges Sowers then anticipated having to register at a hospital, but Hopkins asserted home birth was still an option.
And had you seen an OBGYN at all?
No.
Hopkins and Hinkle describe Sowers as being resistant to take their advice. Their attorney says there is still no confirmation the twins shared the same sac and placenta because he claims Sowers refused to get a diagnostic ultrasound. Hopkins says Sowers was resistant to getting an ultrasound throughout the pregnancy, even after her recommendations starting at 20 weeks.
If there are so many risks, is it time to say, you need to deliver at the hospital?
Well, I guess that wouldn't be left up to me. I would never, again, you're talking about removing parents' choices by telling them what they can and can't do.
Hopkins says a major principle of midwifery is body autonomy. While Sowers chose midwifery over a medical doctor, she is now questioning Hopkins and her team's qualifications.
How much research did you do about qualifications and her background? And
not enough, obviously. She really explained her experience and her certifications, and she took our insurance, and the insurance told us, that she was covered and we were good to go, and I felt like that made it very legitimate. But when you really dive into it, none of it really carries any weight.
According to Hopkins' website, she's been a certified professional midwife since 2011. The North American Registry of Professional Midwives states a certified professional midwife's competency is established through training, education, and supervised clinical experience, followed by successful completion of a written examination.
I do keep medical charts, authenticated medical charts. It's all online. It's all electronic. Every time we had a conversation with Ms. Sowers, every time she refused something, she signed documentation stating she knew exactly what my training was.
According to Hopkins' attorney, those documents could not be provided to the I-Team. He says he and Sowers' attorney reached an agreement Hopkins could only discuss Sowers' care for this report.
So
Matthew Hoffman is the Sowers attorney.
Well, this was a risk that the company was in a unique position to know they were not equipped to handle. And they had a duty to tell our clients, hey, we can't do this safely. And they didn't.
While Hopkins says this is the first loss of her career.
We have all shed tears over her loss and for this family as they have grieved.
Sowers keeps Sullivan's ashes close.
We cremated him. I actually have some of his remains in this ring.
She says she and her husband continue to try to cope with the loss of their child.
It just broke our hearts.
And that was Vanessa Murphy reporting. Sowers says she believes home births and midwives need to be regulated. Ohio State Highway Patrol says Mother Nature played a cruel April Fool's Day joke by hitting them with winter storms. As Maya Belay reports, it was a headache for drivers.
What started as an unusual change of weather for a walk or even a cool swim quickly spiraled into a nightmare for many drivers.
People drive crazy now.
Whiteout conditions captured by ODOT led to one crash after another. In Rocky River on I-90 westbound, at least 12 vehicles got caught in a pileup, shutting down the highway for hours. Police say no injuries were reported.
They forget the snow is serious. It's slippery. You can cause accidents very easily.
My mother-in-law was trying to go to the DMV and she came back and said everything was taking double, triple the time.
Mother Nature played the cruelest April Fool's Day joke We thought it was spring, and she hits us with winter storms.
Sergeant Ray Santiago with Ohio State Highway Patrol says the accidents kept them incredibly busy. They're still sorting through the growing list of crashes.
Troopers across Northeast Ohio have responded to 38 crash-related scenes.
Like this one, yet another pileup, this time in Richfield, involving 42 people and 23 vehicles, shutting down both the north and southbound lanes of I-77 near the turnpike. Richfield police say 6 people were injured.
Need to slow down a little bit. I threw my caution lights on a second. I was getting a little freaked out. Maybe someone was gonna rear end me.
State Patrol says these chain reaction crashes serve as a reminder for drivers to take it easy and make sure their car or SUV stays winter ready, even in the spring.
We need to, slow down our speeds, increase our following distances with other vehicles, and always be alert and attentive to the road.
Not only Mother Nature bringing a lot of snowfall to Ohio, but bringing plenty of rainfall to Tennessee. That's where a couple ended up finding comfort on the top of a neighbor's roof after water flooded their home. And get this, the wife is nearly 8 months pregnant. Mai Owen shows us their unbelievable journey to safety.
If life could fit in one container, this one would hold everything Caitlin and James Martin have left. The couple spent the day packing up what's left in their Paragon Mills home in Nashville after water took over 3 days ago.
We woke up to the sound of water in our bedroom.
Just before 1 o'clock in the morning, water came rushing into their home, flooding the bedroom, destroying everything, even their nursery.
I went in there and just started getting things off the floor, just stacked a ton of stuff on top of the crib.
We're getting out of the house now.
At nearly 8 months pregnant, Caitlin and her husband gathered what they could to find safety up high.
As soon as we opened the front door, water just rushed in the house. And that's when we made the trek, backpacks on, to decide to just fully evacuate.
When we opened the front door and walked down the steps, the water was up to my belly button already, and it was flowing so quickly.
For 2 hours, the couple sat on top of a nearby neighbor's roof, waiting for the water to subside.
It was so cold, it kind of locks you up. And also, there's so many things flowing under the water that you can't see and tripping you up, like gates and fences and wood.
Holding on to the thought of their long-awaited baby's birth.
She felt the baby kick on top of that roof while we were waiting. And that's the only thing that matters. They're the only thing that matters to me.
The couple says they remember the floods of 2010, but never have they seen anything like this.
Very traumatic experience, seeing water just pouring into your house and then looking out the window and seeing the whole neighborhood just feet and feet of water.
Debris now sitting outside their home, but inside, this family's love for one another keeps them going. Mai Owens, News 2.
Glad to hear that couple's doing okay today. New Mexico's largest high school is breaking with tradition this year. Instead of a king and queen for prom or homecoming, the students celebrated as royalty will have gender-neutral titles. Lizzie Mitri shows us how it will work and what prompted this change.
The pandemic means no traditional dance, and Albuquerque Public Schools is doing a combined homecoming and prom this year called Promcoming to recognize standout students. But at Atrisco Heritage Academy High School, that's not all that's different.
So we're very excited to be able to lead the way in this. Trendsetters. We are trendsetters.
Atrisco Heritage Academy is the first APS high school to adopt a gender-neutral model instead of naming a promcoming king and queen like in years past. Student Council made a special video announcement.
And we believe that this change will reflect and celebrate the diversity that is present within our student body and community.
The top 20 individuals selected by the senior class, regardless of the gender, will compose our homecoming court.
Then, after students vote online, the top 2 vote-getters will be named royalty. The next 2, the first high court, and the 2 after that, second high court. Here's Activities Director Jessica Martinez.
The question that comes up the most is, well, what if 2 boys win? Okay, then 2 boys win.
So here's what some of those changes will look like. Instead of your traditional king and queen crowns, the royalty will get these gender-neutral crowns.
And no more traditional king and queen photos. Winners will be recognized individually. Administrators say the idea came from students wanting to make the school more inclusive.
The majority of the questions and the majority of the uncertainty came from older people. When we talked to the kids about it, the kids were like, yeah, we should have been doing, why haven't we been doing this? You know, one of them even said, I'm surprised it took this long.
Principal Irene Cisneros says she's proud of her students.
To really be concerned and caring for the entire student body, I just thought that was really impressive.
Lizzie Mitri, KRQE News 13.
Have Lizzie joining us now from Albuquerque. Thanks so much for being here on Newsfeed Now. So this was an idea that gained much support from students. Was there any disagreement among students, their families, or faculty? And if so, how was that handled?
Right. Well, I asked the activities director if they saw any opposition, and you know, basically she said the only people that had questions were older people, some of the families, the parents, and it sounded like their questions were more just on how this might work, you know, what they would be called, that sort of thing. But as she mentioned, for the kids, for the students, they all seemed to think it was a no-brainer.
And what was the message, or what is the message that students hope people can take away from this?
They really wanted to just spread the message of inclusivity. They wanted everyone to feel included. This actually began the discussions over this a couple years back, and it was really a student-driven effort. Their Gay Straight Alliance Club first brought the idea to administrators, and from there it just kind of took off.
I know a few in your story mentioned trendsetters. Are they hoping that, you know, by them setting this example, maybe others will follow suit?
Yes, exactly. They are the largest high school in the largest school district in the state of New Mexico here. And they said they definitely expect, they're the first in the district to do this, and they expect they won't be the last. They expect others to follow.
All right, Lizzie, thank you so much for bringing us that story from Albuquerque, New Mexico. Now, we are at the point of the pandemic where long-awaited reunions are finally happening. Vaccines have made them possible. In Knoxville, Tennessee, though, 2 grandparents got to meet their grandson for the very first time. Summer Dash shows us this reunion and introduction.
You see Grand Maggie and Popso yet?
Take it from a 2-year-old.
Do you see her car coming?
Waiting is hard.
You see them yet?
You can keep a little kid busy with bubbles and chalk and scooters.
What's that?
But what about a grandparent?
They've been dying since October 30th, I guess.
Yeah.
Waiting to see them,
Yeah, I have to send daily pictures and videos.
Lots of FaceTime.
Lots of FaceTime.
For Marshall and Shannon Stevens and their baby born mid-pandemic, this is what patience looks like. And if you thought it was a hard lesson learned for a kid,
Almost forgotten the way.
try keeping Grand Maggie and Popso away from Henry for 5 months.
We set a countdown on the calendar for when they could come up and see us.
With all the adults now fully vaccinated.
Okay, what's that? Come on, he says. Marcia says, come on.
It is time to come on over.
How are you going to give her a hug? Show me. Oh, I love you.
For the last year, holidays have been spent with just 3 until number 4 arrived.
Oh.
Between work from home, a newborn, the occasionally mean cat, you know these parents cannot wait for the help.
Someone else can hold the grandbaby.
Exactly.
But at the end of their 4-hour drive, it occurs to one.
I really think Henry's gonna yell.
To the newest member of the family, they are strangers.
There they are.
Here they are.
Look, here they are. Here they come.
Oh my God, he's so big. He's so big.
He's a tank.
He's so big.
Here they come. Wait.
Yay!
There you go. Hi.
It's Eleanor. Hello.
While one remembers,
Oh, I'm so glad to see you. I'm so glad to see you.
another is introduced.
Hello, dear.
Hello. I know you don't want to see me. You
Oh,
want to see this guy.
Hey, hey.
Do you want to hold him?
Hello, big guy. Hello.
Look at that baby.
So far, so good.
Here's Grandma.
Just good baby. Oh, look at you.
More than a year, an entire pregnancy later, and this family
How was my girl? How was my girl?
Is reunited. Relief.
You want to read it?
The pandemic forced us all to practice these lessons we learned long ago.
You want to hold this? Hold this child?
Hold this. Hold this. Hello.
Life's toughest test yet.
Really frustrating because, I mean, he's completely holed, you know? He doesn't, I mean, he started kind of looking at the screen, but that doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. And missing him being born was horrible.
It also offered proof that the best things,
You know who I am? I'm your grandpa.
The moose.
really do tend to be worth the wait.
Hey, it's your grandpa.
Ran to the river and look what he saw. He saw Arthur.
Now that is so special. So happy for that family and that reunion. Definitely worth the wait. Well, that's all we have for today's Newsfeed Now. We hope you have a wonderful day and Easter weekend. And also be sure to join us again on Monday to start your week with the top trending stories that you need to know about.